We live in a spiritual world. Like the psalmist says, the fool says unto himself, there is no God. Sometimes God speaks to us by timing events, rolling the cosmos and the elements and our actions to coincide with particular times and seasons in order to give us a message. Those who have spiritual ears, let them hear. Let me end this part of my speech here before I am arrested or before they send the tax authorities to come and find fault with my law firm by force. Introduction. When I am introduced as the Dean of the University of Ghana School of Law, it makes it extremely difficult for me to speak the naked truth. As you all know, we all live a lie. No one speaks the truth. We all say what we are permitted to say or what we deem fit to say at each point in time and depending on our circumstances. So right now, what constrains me are my membership of the General Legal Council and my deanship of the University of Ghana School of Law. And so I would like to respectfully demand of you to imagine what I would have said if these two constraints were not upon my shoulders. I love my Vice Chancellor very much. And the last thing I would like is for her to call me in the early morning and ask, quote, Dean, what have you gone to say? Unquote. Worse still, I am dreading the words of my dear wife when I get home today and she says, quote, Akumbi, what have you gone to say again? Akumbi, a shortened version of my local, authentic spiritual name, is what she calls me when I am in trouble. I'm sure the men here can relate. My uncle Sam Jonah said recently, quote, it appears to me that in recent times, our fourth Republican dispensation, the courage to stand up for the truth and the determination to uphold the common good is lost. In our dark moments as a nation, it is concerning that the voices of the intellectuals are receding into oblivion. Sadly, it is a consequence of the deep partisan polarization of our country, such that everything is seen through the lenses of politics. It appears to me that the culture of silence has returned, this time not enforced by legal and military power, but through convenience, parochialism, hypocrisy, and a lack of conviction. Where are the Adubuahens and PV answers? Unquote. So, Uncle Sam Jonah, receive the below as a feeble attempt at partial redemption of academia. We wait for the clergy, the CSOs, the media, labor unions, and others who were so vociferous in condemning the past regime to redeem themselves. Down memory lane. I was conceived in a village called Nalerugu, near Gambaga, some 35 miles from Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia's hometown. At that time, we still retained in Ghana the traditional home science and knowledge with which to determine exactly when a prospective mother would bear the child. The science of traditional birth attending was fast being eroded. So a few days to the birth, my mother traveled to Bolgatanga, where her brother was a nurse, in order to receive higher than average medical attention during the birth. Soon after my birth, we returned to Nalerugu. Where I lived the very first several years of my childhood. I was born on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. So forgive me when I say some foolish things during this lecture. It's the April Fool's thing working. Somehow, I carry very distinct memories of my complicated childhood. One of such memories is the regular visitations of the military MOWACs and tracks in the immediate aftermath of the 1979 coup. In the village, there were mechanisms of communication that appeared more effective than the mobile phone in speed and reach. And so we will hear about the soldiers and that they were on their way well before they got to our home. My mother sold everything. One of the distinct memories I have is when she was arrested for selling pencils, I believe, above control price. By that time, my father had been transferred from Nalirigu to Boku and then to Damangu. Dr. Abu Sakara knows very well. The village where President John Dramani Mahama was born. Back to Nalirigu, near Vice President Baume's hometown. We always had a pre-dark, deep trench at the back of the house. And when word reached us that the soldiers were on their way, we would drape large sheets of plastic or cloth over the trench, fill it up with all my mother's wares, cover them up with the ends of the plastic or the cloth that stretched over the top of the trench, and cover the trench with earth, and then with anything that would obscure it. When there was time, we would then sweep the whole compound, including over the trench, so that it all looked evenly swept and undetectable. And so that the many footprints of the hiders of the wares will be erased, leaving only the even footprints of the sweepers across the entire parched earth of the compound. Many times, my mother would meet the soldiers across the compound before they walked up to our home, or sometimes before they got out of their vehicles. Often, she would succeed in turning them away with a combination of native wisdom, wit, and humor. Sometimes it helped that she was the wife of the first headmaster of the new secondary school in the village. Sometimes it attracted undue attention, suspicion, targeting, hatred, and reprisals. In those days, anyone with posts was guilty until proven innocent. And the names of the offenses were hilarious: economic sabotage, engaging in acts calculated to cause disaffection for the revolution, government indiscipline. A few years later, when we lived in Boku, and after the 1981 coup, our family was targeted in this way. I still recall the morning our home was attacked and ransacked. Everything was carried away. We moved to stay with a distant relative farther from town. My father was put before a public tribunal and charged with offenses whose names I am unable to recall now. Throughout the period of his trial, he was without a job, without a salary, and in constant fear of his life and the lives of members of his family. When we relocated at night on various occasions, he carried a sharpened cutlass with him. The entire family had to live on the back of my heavily pregnant mother and subsequently nursing mother throughout this period. I have recounted before how my father was made to account for his stewardship of the school he headed. How he accounted for all of it but for one shovel, one pickaxe, and 4 pesewas. How the shovel and pickaxe were later retrieved at a building site, and how he refused to plead guilty to misappropriating 4 pesewas, and how the receipts of the 4 pesewas were later found. After he was found not guilty, he was restored to his post, paid his emoluments, and promoted. Others were not that lucky. Many Ghanaians who were not able to beat the system the way my mother did, or successfully fight the system the way my father did, were mistreated, beaten, even killed. We do not want a coup in this country. Yet I fear that if we do not act quickly, we may have one in our hands very soon. A former colleague, doctoral student at Harvard, wrote his dissertation also on Ghana. He now teaches at a war college in the US. Imagine the name of the college, War College. Whilst my topic was on the Ghana police, his topic was on the Ghana military. Naturally, our paths intersected, and we have remained friends since. My friend's PhD thesis was on the topic, quote, why certain coups succeed and why others fail. His case study was Ghana. My current assessment that Ghana may be ripe for a coup partly springs from the knowledge I gained from accompanying my friend through part of his doctoral research on this topic. It does not help matters if we consider Samuel Huntington's thesis on the snowballing effect of coups in the sub-region and the closeness of recent coups to whom. I urge my good friend, the Minister of National Security, Honorable Kandapa, to have a conversation with my friend at the War College. The economy of Ghana today. A big part of why certain coups succeed and others fail is the economy. What is the state of Ghana's economy today? At the level of the most irreducible idiomaticity, Ghana is broke. Your nation is radically broke. So broke, the Speaker of Parliament has publicly warned, gavel in hand, that we may not be able to pay the salaries of public sector workers in some 3 months unless a miracle happens. The Minister for Finance has weighed in very fine and polished English. He says something like, quote, "The legitimate reality is that there is no money," unquote. At least he has confessed to us that there are some illegitimate realities. Here we recall the African adage, quote, "If a crocodile comes out of the water and tells you that a fish is dead, do you challenge?" Unquote. The Minister for Finance and other government officials add that soon Ghana will not be able to fund the free SHS scheme, pay the District Assembly's Common Fund, pay the National Health Insurance Levy, pay the Ghana Education Trust Fund, pay the salaries of government workers, pay lecturers in public universities, and end the debilitating strike action by them, pay the arrears owed various contractors, build roads and other infrastructure, and create jobs for the youth. The Finance Minister finally says that government may have to generate monies from fuel price hikes, which are already taking place, and leading to increases in transport fares. Costs are rising in Ghana. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels at 28.7%, as well as transport at 17.4%, pushing the rate of inflation for January 2022 to 13.4%, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. The Ghana Statistical Service also revealed that food inflation recorded a rate of 13.7%, having risen from 12.8% in the previous month and for an average of 10.4% in the previous several months before that. So it's climbing. Non-food inflation also went up in January 2022 to 14.1%, compared with the 12.5% recorded in December 2021. So it's also climbing. In the words of President Mahama, time is ticking for the crisis-ridden Ghanaian economy. There is no dispute that the Ghanaian economy is in deep crisis, a crisis marked by huge budget deficits, an unsustainable public debt, rising inflation, a rapidly depreciating cedi, ever-rising cost of living, and a loss of confidence by both domestic and international investor communities. The effects of these have been severe hardships and suffering for the people of Ghana, especially those within vulnerable groups. As a result of the horrendous low point we have now reached, it's very clear that urgent intervention is required to avert a total collapse of the economy. Unquote. Ghana's cedi has performed abysmally since the beginning of 2022, despite the efforts of the Bank of Ghana to artificially hold it down. The Ghana cedi ranked second worst among 15 top performance currencies in Africa recently. In the last few months, the cedi has depreciated heavily against the major currencies, moving from 5-point-something cedis to 7-point-something cedis against the dollar in just a few months. When President Mahama handed over power, the cedi was 4-point-something to the dollar. Today, it is 7-point-something in the Forex Bureau. This morning, Joy Business, drawing from international business news, reported that the Ghana cedi is now the worst performing African currency, having depreciated by 7.6% in January and February 2022 alone. And I hope we all now know that if the fundamentals of the economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Let us remember that the financial crisis is a byproduct of crisis in the real sector of the economy. Dr. Abu Sakara will tell you that. For example, cocoa production in Ghana dropped significantly last year, according to the figures of the International Cocoa Organization. Whilst Ivory Coast recorded a drop of just 4%, for some reason, Ghana recorded a staggering drop of 54%. What is happening? The International Cocoa Organization is still surprised and perplexed that purchasing of graded and sealed cocoa beans for the 2021-2022 cocoa year, as at 6th January 2022, were reported at 263,000 tons only. And please compare the 263,000 tons with 570,000 tons a year earlier. Our president himself has weighed in on the economy and is reported to be, quote, upset and anxious about cedi depreciation. Quote, I am aware of the anxiety there is in business circles and throughout the population about the recent depreciation of the cedi. I am extremely upset and anxious about it too, unquote. What our president and our government officials are saying about our economy is consistent with what the international financial community has said. Late last month, Bloomberg, Reuters, and Fitch all agreed that Ghana's debt has moved into deeper distress at over 80% of GDP. The Ghana Statistical Service, I keep to the Ghana Statistical Service because it is the official authority. The Ghana Statistical Service puts it at almost 85% debt to GDP ratio, rising from 31.4% just a decade ago when President Mills was president. And to compare, as at the time President Mahama left office, it was 55.94%. The rating agencies add that Ghana is at risk of a debt crunch, with interest payments alone absorbing about half of total government revenues. And this is the second highest ratio in the entire world of 200 countries. So we are number 199 over 200. Resultantly, Ghana was downgraded to B- with a negative outlook, and then to C. First time ever. The Bloomberg has added Ghana to the 5 fragile, indebted African nations who are at risk and on a precipice. The 5 worst African countries. Ghana, Nkrumah's Ghana, is among them. So we can no longer borrow on the international financial markets except at horrendous interest rates. And our only hope, some say, is to go back to the IMF. After pretending to recant a little later, Fitch concludes, quote, general government debt reached an estimated 83% of GDP at end 2021. Who remembers the figure given by Ghana Statistical Service? 85. Including approximately 2% of GDP in debt held through the energy sector levy special purpose vehicle. 83 plus 2 is what? So the Statistical Service is right. We forecast government debt to remain on an upward path through 2025. I'm depressed to read the rest of it. Maybe I should skip a bit. Debt affordability metrics will remain weak. Ghana's debt constitutes 539% of government revenue, compared to other B medians of 325%. You are doing almost double. Let me skip that depressing part. What amazes me is that when things were not 1/10 as bad under the Mahama regime, Occupy Ghana marched on the office of the president, the then Flagstaff House, now called Jubilee House, on 1st July 2014. Many leaders, clergy, intellectuals, lawyers, journalists, many Ghanaians urged them on as they raided the premises of the office of the president, insulted the president to high heavens by the minute, by the hour, by the day, emboldened by a correct interpretation of the law to the effect that it is not a crime to insult the president. President Mahama asked that the security forces not react negatively and that no one should be hurt. I am talking from personal experience because I was inside Flagstaff House that day. Marching on the office of the president, a national security zone, is not a crime. Saying that you will do the coup using the definite article, a reference to the coup that the market women in Kumasi already say they will do, is a heinous crime. Some months after the march on Flagstaff House in 2014, I told the president that I was returning to Legon to continue my job as a people teacher. I explained in part that I was no longer able to align my lifelong activism with the state of things then. By 2019, I had sought out President Mahama and told him that he was a far better president. In 2016, the price of a liter of petrol was 3.75 Ghana cedis. Today, it has broken the 8 and is selling at almost 8 cedis a liter. I used to fill my tank with 400 Ghana cedis in 2016. Today, I fill it with 1,000 Ghana cedis when it is empty. When I was appointed dean, one of my junior brothers came to my house, took my RAV4 away, and left his Land Cruiser and said, the RAV4 doesn't befit your position. So now I'm saddled with a Land Cruiser, which I have to fill every week at 1,000 Ghana. A bowl of kenke was 70 pesos in 2016. Today, it is 2 cedis at my last visit, and it seems to have shrunk in size. Trotro fare from Circle to Adenta was 3 cedis, 70 pesos in 2016. Today, it is 7 cedis. And yet, income levels have remained virtually the same, with only the usual nominal increases in government wages over the period. And so, Mr. Kwame Pianing, a renowned New Patriotic Party politician and economist, is reported to have said that it is a shame Ghana's Yale-trained finance minister has been a historic disaster. Today, things are 10 times worse, and all we hear is loud silence. As Adangba has said in his song Animal Farm, the country where I come from The truth is an irony, just like Animal Farm. Justice means inequity. So, who go say the truth? Christian Council, silence. Islamic leaders, silence. Kings and queens, silence. Traditional rulers, silence. Who go say the truth? TUC, silence. Even journalists, silence. Enyansafo, mu here. Then he tells the story of Nana Yankamasem, who kills and imprisons anyone who speaks against him. Quote, everybody is afraid. Nana Oseyemai